really honest, you get to now have access to any teams from the BCFL players if things aren't going the way they want. Let's just be honest. If the Piranhas have a disappointing season, any of those players could at any time go to the River City Canes and compete for a MSFA. I know a lot of cities that do that. It could be questionable depending on what you're asking, but it's kind of a smart plan by the River City Kings, who was last year's MSFA runner-up. They always bring a strong defense, a solid run game. If you think about it, they're always dependable down the middle. They've never been blown out. It's to my acknowledgement, even when they were Derby City Thunder, I know the different team, but when they were Derby City Thunder, if they lost, it was by a touchdown or two. If they win, it's by a touchdown or two. So I haven't really seen them lose 60-0. I also hadn't seen them win 60-0. But it brings a solid game plan. It means it's something they stand behind. Now they have a pretty tough preseason. They just got done playing the 2017 BCFL champions in the BCB, or the Butler County Broncos. There was a lot of rumor going on with that game. Still, the game seemed close, so that was kind of a surprising to me. Now I do know. I want to stop a second. I do know that there was some flack that they caught for the tornado game that was supposed to be this weekend, got canceled. A lot of people gave them some flack on that. I think it's a smart move. I know what it's like to be a part of a team where you think you're only going to take 15 to 20, and when you're playing a team that's one of the top teams in the country historically, and the Indianapolis Tornadoes, you don't want to risk anything long-term for a preseason game. The Indianapolis Tornadoes are going to be up in the PAFL competing for a Tier 1 national championship. You don't want to take a team with 20 players up there and risk injury. They already had some injuries, prayers to those guys, but you don't want to risk any further complications. I actually see them looking at their season here. They play the Titans, the Cavalry, the Spartans, the Colts, the Airbornes, the Cavs, the Furies. I see them going 6-2. The only way I see the playoffs panning out, I see it be a 3-team on each conference. I see their playoff bracket being them, the Titans, and the Spartans, with the Spartans getting the bye week. We'll touch on that a little bit more going forward. I see them losing in the first round. But that's not that shouldn't take away from a solid season I think they're going to have. Number 2, we got the new Tri-State. They got the new Tri-State Titans. They're a new team. I get a lot of flack when I put a new team up high, but when it comes from a city that has been successful in the past, it's hard for me to forget that. Just a couple years ago, the Evansville Enforcers were a top team. They were competing. They split up when they made the Evansville Rangers. But now if they're back as one, I can't take that away from them. They bring a lot of hype. They bring a lot of new uniforms, a new logo. They're really doing it big. I seen a post earlier today about they have a solid quarterback. Are they able to go back in? Are they able to get guys from Owensboro? Are they able to get their guys from Evansville that went to the Spartans and played historically? Can they bring them back in? I saw also that in a couple weeks they're set to play the Indianapolis Tornadoes. If they make that game happen, is it going to be a good game? Is it going to be close? That will say a lot. If they can go up there and compete, they might be the top team in the MSFA. If not, I don't know. Now, I have them going 6-2. They play the Spartans twice. I have that being their only 2 losses. They play the Canes, Fury, and Colts. I see them winning all those. The Canes one might be close depending on what happens or where that game's at. I still see them going 6-2 and losing, of course, in the conference finals to the obvious number 1, which will be the Western Kentucky Spartans. There was some name change. I thought they were the Kentucky Spartans, but I was found out today that they are the Western Kentucky Spartans. New name. I'm pretty sure it'll be the same team. They got some pretty nice-looking uniforms. That doesn't really go as far in semi-pro, but I think they'll be good. I've heard some rumors about, they have a field. I don't know enough. I've played them a couple times. They played at, I believe, Kentucky Wesleyan. It was a really nice field. If they can keep that up, I don't see any problems over there. One thing I really want to point out is the growth over the last couple of seasons. When I believe it was 2015, I think they went 1-10. And now they've lost only 3 games in the last 2 years. Comets and to the Bulldogs twice last season. Over the last couple of years, they've been kind of the bridesmaid, though, never the bride. They've lost to newcomers. The first year, the King Comets came in, went 10 or undefeated, and it was actually a really good game. The Spartans were able to get an early lead. The Comets made quick work of that and were able to come back. Last year, the Dogs, I believe, put a total of 100 points on them in 2 games. They did that to everybody. This year, I see them going 10-0. This is the year I see them winning the MSFA. So that will be. Let's see here. All right, Ed, just real quick, are we looking good this time around, or okay? Let's see here. All right, guys. So now we're heading on. Just kind of recap, however. My top 10 was number 9, the Northern Kentucky Colts. Number 8, the Kings Cavalry. Number 7, the Clarksville Airborne. Number 6, the Clarksville Wolfpack. Number 5, the Tennessee Fury. Number 4, the Tennessee Rampage. Number 3, the River City Hurricane. Number 2, the Tri-State Titans. And number 1, the the Western Kentucky Spartans. To recap the playoffs, the North, the number 1 seed, in my opinion, will be the Spartans. 2 seed be the Titans. 3 seed be the Canes. In the South bracket, the Rampage will be the number 1 seed. Wolfpack number 2. The Fury the 3 seed. And I believe it'll be Spartans Rampage in the championship game, where the Spartans win it easily. Moving on to the BCFL. BCFL looks to be trying to take back over. They're very a historic and prestigious league. They lost a little bit of their momentum last season to the Ohio Football League, which is now part of the PAFL. Looks like they're trying to rebuild on that. We're going to start with the number 1 team let's actually work backwards on that. I don't want to bury the lead on the number 1. I think there's only 9 teams in that league. Nope, there's 10. And we will start with number 10, the Tri-State Saints. I know they played an indoor scrimmage. They're a new team. I can't put a lot of stock in that new team. I don't really know where they come from. I don't know, are they getting their players from the Northern Kentucky Colts? We've already discussed their struggles that they've had. I don't think they're going to have any success this season. I think they're going to go 0-10. They play the Gators, the Gladiators, the Tanks, the Trojans, the Piranhas, Comets, Dukes, the Gators and Dukes again. They might be able to sneak one out against the Cincinnati Dukes. I don't think so. I think they're going to go 0-10. Hopefully they can hold it together and build on that. A lot of teams, you got your one-hit wonders who are able to build a team in 1 year and win a championship. I hope a lot of teams don't put any stock in that. There's something to be said for starting, like the Spartans did, starting 0-10, 1-9, and building on that and building a contender each and every year. Number 9, I have the Cincinnati Gators. Cincinnati Gators, a couple years ago, were somebody that was competing with the top teams in Cincinnati. Last year, they really hit a skid. They went 4-6-1. 3 of their 4 wins came off forfeits, and 1 was a very close win. This year, I have them going 3-7 and missing the playoffs. I think they're rebuilding. I think they need to continue to rebuild. A lot of travel, a lot of tough teams in the bracket or in the schedule this year. I just don't see them getting anything really going. Number 8, we have the Kentucky Trojans, a second-year team. Last year, they really surprised a lot of people. They came out, I think they only lost 2 games, one to the Canes and one to the Spartans, won their division. They lost early in the playoffs to the Cutters. How are they going to build year 2? A lot of rumors saying that they're taking some players from the old Kentuckiana Bucks teams. I've even heard that they're taking players from the West Portsmouth Tanks. Is that true? If that is true, I think they're going to have a better team. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how many of them went. If the ones that went, are they truly difference makers? They have a tough schedule. They play the Dukes, the Piranhas, the Crusaders, the Gators, the Gladiators, the Lightning, the Comets, the Tanks, and then the Crusaders again. I see them going 3-7 at best, unless they got some playmakers that I just don't know about, or they have a creative player in the basement or something. 3-7's best. They might make the playoffs. I think the top 8 teams get in the playoffs if everything holds true. They'll be in, but it'll be a quick exit. Number 7, the Cincinnati Dukes. Now, it wasn't too long ago that the Cincinnati Dukes was up there with the teams that weren't winning. They were 2-8, 0-10. Last year, they went 7-5. They made the playoffs. They beat the Gators, lost to the Gladiators. This year, I think they're going to take a step back. 4-6 is about the best I see them doing. They got the Trojans. I think they can win that. The Crusaders, I think it's going to be tough. The Gladiators, the Piranhas, the Comets, the Gators, the Saints, the Lightnings, the Piranhas, and Saints again. 4-6, maybe 5-5 if they still won. I don't see it. I see it more than likely they go 3-7. All right, moving on. Number 6, we got the Louisville Piranhas. I know I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack from that. A lot of I do a lot of announcing. Once played for the team, I'm going to start announcing for that team. But that doesn't mean I can't be honest. This is their first year as a team, second season. They went 4-5 in the TAFL, lost to the Chaos as we discussed at the opening. How are they going to do in the summer? I know a lot of their players weren't used to playing in the spring. They play on a nice turf field in the summer. They're going to get some of that momentum to take advantage of some of that speed. But I have questions. Where's that QB play coming from? They got a lot of heart. They've got a lot of heart at the position, but I see some question marks. I think the first thing you got to do is you got to find out who your quarterback's going to be, and you got to stick with it. Through ups and downs, you're going to have to ride that out, and you're going to have to get the offense to start clicking, because the defense was on the field too much, and it started showing. I think they go 5-5. They don't have to make any trip to Indy to play the Crusaders, and they don't have to go to West Portsmouth to play the Tanks. They do have to go to the Gladiators in Columbus and Cincinnati to play the Comets, but for the most part, I think the schedule's pretty favorable, but I just see that struggles at offense coming back to bite them. Now, I've heard they're making some moves. I've heard they're picking up some guys that can put some points on the board, and if that's the case, we'll revisit this as time goes on. But as of right now, I see them making a playoff, maybe sneaking a first-round win. It'd be tough to see. Sorry, guys, once again. And I want to take a minute. I know there was a lot of diss on the current quarterback, or currently at quarterback for the Piranhas, Brandon Corker. He is undersized. He sometimes makes some questionable plays, but the kid's got heart. He's a winner. I've only known him for a short time, but I would play for him any day. At the last game, he started at quarterback, had his struggles. They moved him to receiver, had a huge catch. The kid just wants to win. I don't think that should be any dismiss of his overall ability and overall talent. So anyway, I just wanted to get that off my chest. I know that was a hot topic on a previous show. You can do it, Brandon. Get in there. All right, we're moving on to number 5. Let me look here real quick and see who I got. Number 5, we got the West Virginia Lightning. This is where things get a little choppy. I don't know much about them. I looked into last year. They had 3 losses. They lost to both teams ranked ahead of them, the Tanks and the Gladiators. I don't know how well they compete. I don't know who they have. I don't know how well they travel. I do know that in West Virginia, some of those Kentucky teams aren't going to travel to you very well. I'll just be completely honest. I see them actually going 6-4. I know it's a little worse than they went last year, but I see them going, like I said, 6-4. They got at the Crusaders, at the Tanks, at the Gladiators, at the Comets. They could win a playoff game too. I think they're a little bit in a better opportunity because they would play the 4 seed. The BCFL. I want to have all that. So we're going to start with number 4 again. We're picking right back up. We are going with the Columbus Gladiators, a top-ranked team. 2017, they competed with the Fire, only barely lost. Only lost 1 regular season game to the West Virginia Lightning, and lost in the playoffs, the semifinals, to the Butler County Broncos. Are they going to be able to take down the Tank? We talked earlier that the Tanks could be losing some players to some potential teams. I don't know how true that is. From everybody I've talked to, that's not been the case. Are they going to be able to? But are they going to be able to take the Tanks down? I think they will lose to them once of the 2 times. I see them going 8-2 of this season. They play the Tanks twice: the Saints, the Dukes, the Lightnings, the Trojans, the Piranhas, and the Crusaders and the Comets. I see them getting runner-up. If they can get past the Tanks, I can see them making some noise and potentially getting the championship, winning the BCFL. Moving on, number 3. I see us going with I lost my spot there. Number 3, the Marion County Crusaders. I saw one of the rankings getting a lot of flack about not giving proper respect for the Crusaders. I hear the Crusaders are picking up a lot of good talent, a lot of good players. It'll be interesting to see how that comes about. They were a talented team, especially a couple years ago, making it to the national championship game. Are they going to bring back the powerhouse? I know they picked up a lot of guys from the old Tri-City Braves. I think they got a really good quarterback at Tanner Day. You got a running back that can play running back and slot receiver that I see making a lot of noise, making a lot of people miss. I would love to see. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The dude from the Braves, now with the Crusaders. I'd love to see him and Randall Smith go heads up. We need to make that happen. Ricky Proshka, make that happen. Number 3, I see them. Like I said, they lost last year in the OFL playoff to the Michigan Hurricanes. This year, I see them going 6-2. They got a tough road game. They got at Lightnings. They go to the Tanks. They go to the Piranhas. But I still see, after a rough early start, I still see them making a run in the playoffs, seeing how far they can get. Probably making it to the championship game, being completely honest, but not having enough to beat the Gladiators or the Tanks. Number 2, I can't knock this team. I can't take anything away from what they have. I heard a lot of things that they may have lost some players. The King Comets. They are historically a very solid team. I see them continuing that run. I don't see anybody able to dethrone them except for the Crusaders, unless they got all the guys that they've said they got. I first heard of the King Comets after a long history in 2016 when they came in the MSFA. They dominated that league up and down, even beat the current favorite or the favorites at the time, the Kentucky Extreme. They went to the OFL last year. I think they maybe stuttered out the gate a little bit, were able to win it. So they're back-to-back league champions. They may be able to do it this year. Like I said, if they didn't lose any talent. Cincinnati likes to spread that pretty thin, but they also like to play musical chairs a little bit and hop around depending on how everything's going. Another thing that's been kind of a black eye on some of their games is they've not been able to finish. They had a preseason game with the Blaze that weren't able to be finished, and I've heard that with the Crusaders last year they had a game that wasn't able to be finished, or I think they may have called it, but they had to call it early. I see them going 7-3 this year. They play the Louisville Piranhas, the Cincinnati Gators, the Lightning, the Crusaders, Duke, Saints, Gators, Trojans, Gladiators, and Tanks. They will compete. Don't be surprised if you see them in the championship game. I personally don't think they'll make it, but they have proven me wrong time and time again. So I wouldn't be completely surprised to see that. And that leaves, without a doubt, the number 1 team in the BCFL, the West Portsmouth Tanks. Assuming they have kept everything they have. They were 2017 runners-up. Lost to the Butler County Broncos. They only had 2 losses all season, averaged 33 points a game, putting 85 on the Carter County Wildcats. And one thing that they have that a lot of teams don't is a strong QB play with Swords at quarterback. I think this is the year that they get over the hump. Like I said, who do they lose? I see them going 8-2. I don't see any team in the BCFL going undefeated. I think the the teams are just going to be too tough. The competition at the top is just going to be too much. Like I said, I think recapping the top 10, you got the Tri-State Saints at number 10, the Cincinnati Gators at number 9, the Kentucky Trojans number 8, number 7, the Cincinnati Duke, the Louisville Piranhas number 6, number 5, West Virginia Lightning, number 4, Columbus Gladiators, number 3, Marion County Crusaders, number 2, the King Comets, and the number 1, the West Portsmouth Tanks. With the championship game coming down to the Tanks and the Crusaders, with the Tanks winning. And that will be it for the BCFL segment. When we come back, we want to talk